Early European explorers to Easter Island recorded the local oral traditions about the original settlers. In these traditions, Easter Islanders claimed that a chief named Hotu Matu'a arrived on the island in one of two large canoes with his wife and extended family. Known as Rapa Nui to its earliest inhabitants, the island was changed and christened Easter Island by Dutch explorers in honour of the day of their arrival in 1722. It was annexed by Chile in the late 19th century and now maintains an economy based largely on tourism. According to local legends, a group of long-eared, unknown men referred to as Hanu Epe had arrived on the island sometime before the Polynesians. Some early accounts placed the Hanu Epe as the original residents and Polynesians as later immigrants coming from Oparo, which is called Rapa Iti today. After mutual suspicions erupted in a violent clash, the Hanu Epe were overthrown and exterminated. One of the most well-known stories of Rapa Nui tells the legend of the Hanu Momoko and the Hanu Epe, two groups which shared and disputed the island many centuries ago, culminating in an epic battle at the foot of Poik Peninsula. The Hanu Epe were said to have a robust form. The Hanu Momoko were slim with the custom of tattooing their bodies. A decisive battle occurred which led to the defeat and extermination of the Hanu Epe. According to these legends, these events are supposed to have happened at some point between the 16th and 18th century. The first description of the island's demographics are by Dutch explorer Jacob Roggeveen in 1722, who claimed the landscape was barren, with the tallest trees being no more than 10 feet tall. He also stated that the population had two clear ethnic groups, one being clearly Polynesian and the other white, with lengthened earlobes so long that they could tie them behind their necks. Roggeveen also noted how some of the islanders were generally large in stature. This was also witnessed by the Spanish, who measured average heights of 6'4" and 6'5". The Spanish sent an expedition almost 50 years later to the island in 1770. They spent 4 days ashore and were the first to report that the Aborigines had their own local form of script. They estimated their population to be about 3,000 people. 24 wooden carved signs that contain a system of characters were found. These characters got the name Rongorongo. They are considered an ancient proto-written form. To this day, they could not be deciphered. Oral history suggests that only a small elite few were ever literate and that the tablets were sacred. A civil war seems to have raged on the island before the next arrival of British navigator Captain James Cook in 1774, who witnessed a decimated, poverty-stricken Polynesian population of about 700 men, and fewer than 30 women were found by the Englishmen. In 1786, the French navigator Jean-Francois arrived and found some 2,000 people living on the island. That's 12 years later, which would mean each woman would have to have at least 3 to 4 kids every year, for 12 years. Yeah, if only that was possible. They have surely miscalculated the numbers, but where would everyone hide on an open island with no forests? A number of sailing vessels, including whalers, visited the island from 1792 onward. By 1860, the population was about 3,000, but a major slave raid launched from Peru in 1862 happened, which reduced the population to 111 in 1877. At the end of the 19th century, the population began to increase once more. In 1864, Brother Eugene I. Rao, a French Catholic missionary, became the first foreigner to settle on the island. As a result, the population became converted to Christianity by 1868. In 1888, the island was annexed by Chile. Today on the island, Spanish is the most commonly spoken language. In their traditions, the islanders constantly divide themselves up into descendants of two distinct ethnic groups, the long ears and the short ears. The presence of rats on the island had been noted by many explorers. Anthropologist Terry Hunt and colleagues from the University of Hawaii say that introduced Polynesian rats may have caused the deforestation of the island's 16 million palm trees, which were key to sustaining Easter Island's human population. The island is an ideal environment for rats: unlimited food, including palm tree nuts, and no natural predators except humans. Under these conditions, rat populations can double every 6 weeks. Almost all of the palm seed shells found on the island show evidence of having been gnawed at by rats, which would seriously affect the tree's ability to reproduce. There are many large Moai statues on the island, but there is one larger than the rest. This unfinished figure is estimated to be 72 foot tall, with a weight of about 145 to 165 tons, which was never erected, even after being carved out. The tallest known erected Moai statue is known to be 33 feet tall and is called Paro. However, there are many still buried which are of unknown dimensions. Some old stories say the stone carvers may have sung ceremonial songs while the statues walked to maintain the rhythm of the movement, with different songs for different size figures to match the pace of the Moai's movement. However, little remains of the oral history of the Rapa Nui people to confirm this. There are 887 Moai identified so far, scattered across Easter Island, or Rapa Nui as the islanders called it. The oral tradition of the island talks about the Moai walking from the place where they were made to their final destination, on top of the altars. Traditionally, the only history was passed down on the island was through songs, through chants, games, and poetry. There are plenty of ancestral songs and stories that talk about the Moai walking. It would seem strange to put all that time into cutting out and carving these statues, to then take the highly risky option of moving them with ropes swaying from left to right, as the mainstream theory goes. Funny they don't mention how they would pick up any of the Moai statues that are already laying down. This technique would be quite dangerous for the people moving them if they fell on somebody, and not to mention all the time put into making these beautiful statues just to see them fall over and crack. Interestingly enough, we don't see broken statues scattered across the island where they tried to move them and then were left abandoned. We only see broken statues that were knocked over from the place of their original standing. The history of Easter Island is much deeper and more mysterious than we've been told. I hope you've all enjoyed the video, everyone. Please like and share and subscribe. Thank you all so much.